All right. Well, I have been with Kirkwood since September, and I was brought on specific for apprenticeships. So I'm thrilled to talk with you about how Kirkwood is making it possible for small and medium construction, architecture, and engineering companies to take part in an apprenticeship. So as I said, I was going to do a little bit of education on registered apprenticeships, uh, including the 5 parts of what is required to have a registered apprenticeship, as well as the role that Kirkwood plays within it. And then I'll get very specific on the construction technologist apprenticeship. If you have questions and can put them into the chat box, that will help a lot, because I will pause throughout the presentation to make sure I've covered any specific questions that you have. So one of the reasons why apprenticeship is really a hot topic right now is that we have 94% of a retention rate when it comes to after the person completes the apprenticeship, and then they stay with the company afterwards. The other thing that's really intriguing about it is that there is a very high percentage of the business sponsors that have apprenticeships that really strongly believe it is a great source of finding individuals. So 97% is our apprenticeship success rate there. So right now across the country, things are very different than they were just 5 or 6 weeks ago. There's no doubt, but I think you can relate to what I describe as worker movement across the industry. Maybe you experience it directly in your own company, but worker movement is really when the employees move from one company to another easily and frequently. It's not really that you're bringing in new people from the industry, but you're just kind of trading them amongst each other. So that's one of the things that we've been noticing across the country. As the individuals are moving from one company to another, this is really creating a huge cost of turnover. I know the most recent figure that I've been quoting is about $3,000 to $4,000 for a $10 an hour worker. And most businesses, when I'm talking to them individually about that, they're telling me, no, that's way too low. So turnover is certainly impacting our ability to make profit. Our aging workforce, there are actually 1 in 4 individuals in the workforce right now that are over the age of 55. So, you know, we can thank our largest generation in history, our baby boomers, for that, I think. We have also seen a change in the fact that many low-earning individuals are typically carrying multiple jobs to make ends meet. And then finally, one of the other things that are really impacting the economy these days is that the 4-year education and living expenses is actually getting as high as $83,656. That was the 2019 figure for here in Iowa. So our young adults are definitely trying to find solutions, and it really has created the need for registered apprenticeships. So apprenticeships are being seen as the solution because it helps to eliminate barriers to gaining new skills. You can't really stop working 2 jobs when you pay the bills, and stop paying bills so that you can pay for a class where you spend so many hours in it and you don't even earn pay during that time. So it's really about eliminating those barriers. And when you lift the cost off their shoulders and you give them a full-time job, they actually can learn that the skills needed to do that new, better job. The loyalty that they feel when they've gone through that education and training is much stronger, which really helps us reduce that turnover. So as you can see here, our registered apprenticeships is really a paid job plus education, and it results in certification. A registered apprenticeship means that the Department of Labor has reviewed and approved the standards that were created. There are actually 5 parts to a registered apprenticeship. The most important part is at the very top there, it's the business, because without an employer, an apprentice is merely a student. The business actually is required to appoint an experienced, seasoned person from their business that will act as the mentor while the student is on the job learning. The mentor really ends up being their go-to. And many times this is already happening when the business hires a new person. They have someone that shows them the ropes, that's there for questions and provides guidance. That's not typically too big of a change in how you're doing things. Kirkwood serves as the training instruction provider. Our average there is about 144 hours per year of an apprenticeship. And then typically there should be milestones for growth in wages as they complete the apprenticeship. And then finally, the Department of Labor does require some reporting. And once we complete that, they provide a national certification. I'm actually going to get into some of the details of what those individual parts contain. So for the required reporting to the Department of Labor, it can only occur if the apprenticeship is registered and if the proper documentation is provided. That's when they get their certification. The business has a partner agreement to fill out that includes their tax ID, and it includes a general wage progression for the position that they're doing the apprenticeship for. A business doesn't have to follow that wage schedule for all of their apprentices. It is still at their discretion if someone should be hired higher than the low end of that scale. So it doesn't force, that paperwork doesn't necessarily hold you to something firm. It's really creating a minimum so that they know you're doing at that minimum level. We also have apprentices that have to fill out a form that is referred to as a 671 form. It's really indicating the intent that they are planning to start and finish an apprenticeship. It also is a form that is used in federal contract bids, and there's more details involved there, but my understanding is it has to do with some federal dollars that are available to offset the cost of wages. And finally, the hours of RTI and on-the-job training work hours need to be reported, as well as the skills sheets need to be submitted annually. So let's get a little more detail on what RTI and OTJ are. RTI refers to our related training and instruction. That would refer to your class hours. They could be done online or in class. It could be a lab. The RTI hours are required by the Department of Labor, and it is 144 to 200 average hours per year. Our on-the-job training is also required by the Department of Labor, and they're looking for 1,800 to 2,000 hours per year. And as I said, the related training and instruction is referred to as RTI, and you'll hear on-the-job training referred to as OJT or OJL. Our Department of Labor looks for a mentor to be considered a journeyman level. If you are unfamiliar with apprenticeship, the journeyman is somebody who's gone through this specific apprenticeship, so they refer to it as journeyman. But don't worry, it doesn't mean if you haven't had someone that's gone through an apprenticeship, that's okay. They don't need to have that. If it's somebody who has the education experience or equivalent or the years of experience. So generally, this is just your more seasoned or leader level person that is in your company. So what does a mentor do? The mentor is really going to be that person who's responsible for teaching them how you do the business, how you do the work at your business. So they're going to provide your guidance, answer questions, they're going to provide feedback. Typically, they don't have to be side by side, and they don't have to be with them 24/7. This mentor is responsible for filling out that annual skills sheet. And it is good that they're actually seeing the work and they are available, but it doesn't have to be, super close proximity or with them all the time, because that's just not realistic in most of our situations today. So let's talk through the wage compensation growth. You saw that was on our circle of 5 things. When we discuss wage compensation, it's actually a backwards process. You're going to look at someone who is in that position that has those skills, and then do a stair step down to figure out where you start this person. So for a number of years, you're typically doing 60 to 70% when you're doing that first year. If you're doing a $16 hourly wage, again, this is just an example. At the end of the 3 years, they'll make $16. So when you're doing 70% to start with, it's $11 when they get hired. That would, after a year, move up to $12.50, which is the 80% mark. And then after year 2, they're going to move up to the year 3 rate at 90%, which is $14. And then at the end, when they get certified by the Department of Labor, they're going to move into their journeyman wage of $16. So on average, you're going to be looking at the fact that the number of years in the program play a big part, but most apprentices are getting growth in their wages, usually annually or every 6 months. Kirkwood Community College covers 7 counties, and we're in a unique position that we can connect students and businesses. So we are an intermediary sponsor for the Construction Technologist Apprenticeship. We strongly believe in providing those opportunities for businesses that are both small and large to come together in order to overcome the challenges that are impacting the industry. We wanted an option that was easy for a business to say yes to by being able to accommodate both small or large need. Each business partner actually does have the ability to customize 20% of the skills for on the job and related training. So we create those opportunities that you can make it fit for your business. We went more general so it could work for a lot of different types of construction and engineering businesses. When we take the intermediary sponsor role, we actively recruit and promote the apprenticeship. We're specifically promoting the Construction Technologist Apprenticeship, and then we will be promoting in general the fact that Kirkwood is the great place to turn to for apprenticeships. Several times a year, we provide a 4-hour mentor training program. The mentor only has to attend one, but we do it at different times throughout the year so that people can tap in when it's the right timing for them. We communicate regularly with our apprentices and the mentors and the business contacts. The administrative work for the program is all handled by me, so you don't have to remember when do I need to get the registration taken care of, what classes are they supposed to do, you know. I provide all that information to the individual businesses and make sure that they've got everything they need to make it quick and easy. We manage paperwork and the items that are recorded through the Department of Labor and Iowa Workforce Development. So the employee support team really grows for these apprentices because they're going to have their instructors supporting them. They have myself as the project manager, and then we also have program managers that help as well. We're really trying to make it the easy option. Construction Technologist Apprenticeship was actually started and approved in December of 2018. So our first cohort started classes in January of 2019. Our second cohort started just this last January. We are looking to try to get a third cohort going that will start their on-the-job labor in June of 2020. Let's take a look at this video.
So apprenticeships are a wonderful pathway for students that allow them to work concurrently in the field while they're learning the academic content.
As an employer, we have the opportunity to select employees, send them for additional schooling, and reap the benefit of them getting more education. The first year is very general, the second year is a little more specific, and by the third year, we as employers will tell Kirkwood what portions we want our students to learn. One thing that's big about this apprenticeship is that the employer pays the cost. So a student in the real world should be able to go through an apprenticeship and be earning a living and not be incurring student debt. I think that's huge.
My name is Stefan Crowell, and I'm a carpenter's apprentice, and I'm really enjoying it. Getting paid to learn is great. If you want to learn some skills that you can charge for, I highly recommend being an apprentice of any kind because these skills transfer all over the place.
The program itself, I think it's a win-win for everybody because I want to teach my young apprentices how I want them to do what I want them to do. And the students find value by getting an education, working hands-on, one-on-one with an employer that's teaching them a trade.
So a huge benefit of the way the Construction Technologist Apprenticeship program has been built is to offer students an additional pathway after they complete their apprenticeship. If a student is interested in one of our 2-year AAS programs, they could go into the architectural technology. They could also look at the construction management program. We could also look at 4-year options.
If you like to learn and you like to be active and entertained and engaged by your job, and you want to make good money at the same time, I would highly suggest going into an apprenticeship program.
It looks like we are now ready to talk about the 3-year specific information. For our 3-year program, we have 144 to 160 class hours each year and 2,000 on-the-job hours per year. The first 2 years are structured classes, so every apprentice takes the same core classes. While we were creating this program, our employers indicated they wanted the apprenticeship more targeted to their specific area of construction. So our 3rd year is actually customized from a list of available courses. And it's really determined by the company and the apprentice together before they register for the 3rd year of classes. So our first year of classes includes ACE Professions. It is a general where they're learning about all the different types of individuals that they're going to be interacting with as they're doing projects. We also have OSHA 10 First Aid and CPR that are available. We know that sometimes your insurance company may actually provide OSHA 10 for you, and that's fine. We do find that everybody appreciates having additional people that are actually certified in first aid and CPR. So we have had great success at doing that right away in that first year. Architectural plans and specs is the class they go into after ACE Professions. And then we also have our construction lab as the 3rd class for the series of that first year. Math for trades, we give them the opportunity to test out of that, or we try to fit it in according to what works for their schedule. Our class time occurs during the SO season of January through March, and it takes place on Fridays. So they're still working Monday through Thursday at the job site. This actually comes out to be about 160 to 208 hours that first year, depending on their math. Our year 2 classes are modeling, structures, and MEP. Estimating is also in this group of classes. Our classes are generally January through March, February through April, right in those time frames. And this particular year is about 144 hours. So remember how I said that we started in 2019? We're actually only into our 2nd year of this 3-year apprenticeship. Our 3rd year of curriculum is still under development. So our vision really includes many more options. It will actually include online options from HBA and NFBA. We also had some project management options that came into this list of courses as well, but we've got the OSHA 30 as an option, CEA, construction science, an intro to BIM class, principles of supervision. And then we also have the opportunity to do some leadership or soft skills, as well as forklift training and the CDL Class B training. If it's part of the plan between the apprentice and the company that they want to get that diploma, we do encourage them to take specific classes that will count towards that diploma. So that is one of the things that we look at when we're looking at those classes for that 3rd year as well. And then I mentioned earlier, but on the job hours, we do require full-time employment through the year, so 2,000 hours during that time frame. Obviously, if you're working 2,000 hours and you're going to class for 144, that's a little bit more than a typical year. So if it takes a little bit longer to get to 2,000, that's fine too. Our class scheduling, when we were designing this apprenticeship, and Joe Greathouse, who's on the call today, was very instrumental in getting this created and set up, as well as the ACE sector board. And then Amy Lasak, my manager, was very involved in the setup of it. But seasonality was a big concern for the construction industry businesses. That's why we made sure to do the classes during January through March or February through April. We also offer some online classes and night classes as well. We really kept the class schedules to Fridays as much as possible so that employees are still available 4 days of the week during class time. So when we look at the commitment from a business, the first one is to hire an apprentice full-time. We also ask for investment in the apprenticeship program. and to select that experienced mentor, that seasoned person who's going to really be there to answer the questions for them. We're also asking you to structure the wages with the milestone increases. And we're asking you to allow the apprentice to attend scheduled classes. We highly encourage paying wages if class time is during work hours. And if we provide the apprentice's application, because we are promoting and really marketing the program, we ask that that employee go through our program. And of course, because it's a 3-year apprenticeship, we ask that you commit to that 3-year time frame. When you're selecting an apprentice, you can actually, we have one of our businesses that's really focused on selecting a current employee who's worked several years for them, and they're actually sending them through the program so they can grow into a management role there. We also have had businesses that have had huge success with marketing the apprenticeship themselves and selecting their applicants from those that they have received through their marketing efforts. We have one business that really focused heavy on the veterans, and they hired 3 veterans that they put into our apprenticeship program. We have Kirkwood students who are in the process of taking courses and are interested, but find themselves sometimes in the situation where they need full-time employment. So they're applying for this type of a program. And then we also have additional people who are, brand new to Kirkwood and that come through our program applications as well. So you could be somebody brand new through that method. And then of course, Iowa Works is always willing to advertise the apprenticeship openings. So when the commitment from the new apprentice, it is completely at your own discretion, but with apprenticeships, it is customary to request a time commitment equal to the apprenticeship's length of time. For the 3-year apprenticeship, an apprentice is typically agreeing to stay 6 years. 3 years for the apprenticeship plus 3 years after equals the 6-year amount. So it's a pretty good amount of time. So who benefits from this program? We have the student who gets a full-time job and their education is paid for. They're walking away with no student debt. And if you remember, we talked about how a 4-year degree can really make that $83,000 debt as they're going through it. So that's a huge win. For a business, they're getting that educated and engaged employee. I don't know about you, but having managed employees, having someone who's really engaged makes a huge difference. They're very reasonably priced in the program, and it's an easy program. So it's typically a win for the business as well. And then from Kirkwood's perspective, we've gained a student, we've helped the business, and we've helped the industry, which is a huge part of our mission in the role that we play in this community. So we are winning, winning, and winning. You really can't beat that. So I always take this moment to hit those questions that are asked that are sometimes tough. The first is, what happens if the apprentice gets fired or quits? First and foremost, an apprentice, they have to be employed in order to be in the apprenticeship program. So if it is prior to the first set of classes, there's going to be no costs incurred. If it's before the next round of classes, that amount will not be charged to the employer either. If it's after a session of classes, that is part of the agreement between the employer and the apprentice on whether they will be reimbursed from the apprentice for those classes. I just want to reiterate that the apprentice working for you it's a normal workplace situation. If for any reason you have to fire them or if they quit, the apprenticeship is pretty much done because there's nothing more that can be done there. If the apprentice fails a class, first of all, every effort is put forth to prevent this, and the student receives multiple communications from the teacher, the instructor, as well as myself if this becomes a concern. We also, before everything is said and done, we're also communicating with the employer so that they're aware that there's a concern with this class. As always, the employer will make a decision on the apprentice continuing in the program under their sponsorship. The apprentice may have to pay to retake the class if they should actually fail as part of the decision with their employer, or they may end up not being allowed to continue the apprenticeship. So we really focus on making sure that this is a winning situation for both of the student and the business itself. So let's talk about the investment, because everybody always wants to know, so what's it going to cost? So each year, the total investment is estimated to be about $2,950, with the entire apprenticeship estimated to be about $8,850. You may wonder why I have estimated. If you remember that year 3, that really plays a part in how much the classes are. You also heard me mention that in the early part of OSHA's, if you get that class for free from your insurance, we don't want to duplicate efforts there. So the investment can be made annually, quarterly, or monthly. If it's quarterly, you're looking at $740 a quarter. If you're looking at monthly, it's going to be just $250 a month. Now, when we were talking through those wage steps and milestones, they're really designed and recommended to help pay for the education and the training. So when we looked at that $16 wage at 70%, the savings that you were getting from those wage changes is almost $10,000, which more than pays for the entire program. So the second year, you have additional savings in that wage at $7,000, and that third year is $4,000. So as you can see, it's really designed with the idea that the education gets paid for through this alteration of the wages. The investment begins when you register for classes. So November, December is typically our registration time for January classes. For start times that are off in January, like we may occasionally do a CPR or first aid class at a different time, those are usually pretty minimal charge of $250 or $300, something along those lines, in which you would still wait until November, December to begin your full class registration and paying for that. So we have an agreement that's called the Memorandum of Understanding, an agreement that your business is willing to put the right person through our construction tech apprenticeship. If you find someone that's underskilled or a non-skilled person that you want to hire for the apprenticeship, we ask that you put them through ours. And the MOU means that if you hire someone from applications we provide, that you'll put them through our apprenticeship program. So what's really great about signing this MOU is that we don't require that you have somebody selected before you sign it, because we want you to, give those applications an opportunity. We want you to be a part of the special marketing efforts for the apprenticeship program. So by signing that MOU, it means when you find the right person, you'll put them in the apprenticeship program for us. And as always, as I said, that investment begins with the first set of classes. So our next steps include checking out the website. You can check out there. You can call or email me to discuss specific questions and scenarios with your company and workers. My cell phone number here, 319-551-1018. And instead of trying to learn how to spell my last name, you can just go ahead and send an email to apprenticeships@kirkwood.edu. So again, if you know you're ready to start, you can go ahead and at the website under the Upskill Current Employees, we have the MOU there. Thank you again for all your time, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.